Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Luke, your digital concierge at Gramophone, and tonight I am also very blessed to be the host for a special event where we will be being joined by some of our friends from Cyrus Audio, two experts of that company, in fact. Also, guys, make sure you stay tuned because we're doing a giveaway with this event for a Cyrus Audio OneCast smart amplifier, and this is not just any giveaway. That is a $2,000 value. So we are really excited to be able to do that for you. Cyrus is unique among the audio world as they're a completely British audio company. Now, we know of a few companies that hail from England, but don't necessarily do all their manufacturing there. Every component in a Cyrus audio piece is virtually made right there in Great Britain as well. So it is true through and through. Additionally, they've done work at Cambridge Research and Development Studios, which have led to advances in the design of their decks, in their power management devices, CD servos, and noise rejection technology. It's pretty impressive stuff, so we're really excited to be able to talk to them more about it. But without further ado, I'd love to welcome our guest onto the show now, all the way from across the pond, and as some would say, 5 hours in the future, Simon and David from Cyrus.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Hey everyone.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here, especially when it's a little bit late for you over there right now. So we're really honored to have you. Tell me though, being 5 hours in the future, can you give me any tips for the market open tomorrow?
I couldn't possibly say that. Would be insider trading.
Yes, it would be. All right, gentlemen.
It's all on the way up.
All right, gentlemen. Well, to start us off, I'd love to ask you how both of you got your start in the audio industry.
Okay, I'll pick that one up first. So, you get started in audio because you love music, and my love of music came from my father. Really, I think most people are probably like that. So he did everything. He sang in the choir. He was a big fan of the Beatles. He had this Avantic valve amplifier, these massive, great Goodman's corner speakers, very coloured but very powerful. So I grew up listening to this kind of stuff. A couple of my favourite tracks. He used to play this album a lot. This is the original one that he had. This is his copy of Sgt. Pepper's, original 1967 pressing with the gatefold. Fixing a Hole was the track he always used to play, which he said he was to set up his system, because there's this guitar room that comes out of the right hand channel. I'm sure half the time he had it hooked up the wrong way around. And then the other track that he used to play, and he used to have a reel-to-reel tape recorder and play these things record stuff off the radio, was Shostakovich's Second Piano Concerto. I happen to have found a CD of it later on in life, but it was one of the original recordings done by the great Leonard Bernstein, who was conducting and playing the piano. So if anyone hasn't heard that, I really recommend that as a recording to listen to. A really passionate piece of music. So that's how I got into music, and you buy kit, you get into audio.
Absolutely. And then you stay in audio, right?
Yeah, you do.
So on that track, how did you get into Cyrus?
So I got into, my background actually was in the city. I was working in the city. And I kind of had the opportunity to buy into the business with the then MD, which I did back in 2004. So I've been involved in the business quite a long time. Took a larger stake and put myself in as managing director in 2012. And the rest, as they say, is history. It's not the easiest business to be in the world, but it's really exciting because I love the products and I love the enjoyment we can bring to customers.
Oh, absolutely. The thing about this business is even if it's a slow day, you're still surrounded by great music. So what do you really have to complain about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Same to you, though, David. How did you get your start in audio?
Well, I guess like everyone, it's kind of that, my dad had a great system, but beyond that, it was my grandfather. My grandfather was actually an electronics engineer who worked for Pi in the 1930s and 40s. So he was working on some really, cutting. I think he was working on the first color TV that they were launching. But he had an amazing hi-fi system. So when when we used to go over there, they lived in Cambridge, and when we used to go over to visit them as a child, he was, he had this gleaming chrome plated thing that was just sounded amazing. I can't even remember what it was. I just know that it was, really, really fantastic piece of kit. And
you got to grow up nice and spoiled with hi-fi.
Absolutely. And he was very. I mean, John was his name, and my middle name is John. I get that from him, and he was so knowledgeable about the electronics industry. He used to sit down and talk for hours about it, and fascinating guy. No longer with us, of course, but that's where my passion really comes from.
That's awesome. And then from there, how did you get to Cyrus?
Well, I've worked in the audio industry for quite a long time. I think I started off at Quad Electroacoustics, the electrostatic people, about nearly getting on for 30 years ago. No, about 25 years ago. I actually started consulting for Cyrus about 5 or 6 years ago, and Simon very kindly asked me to join the company full time, and it's been fantastic. I never looked back. The opportunity to work for a British company. And again, it's not British as in we take lots of stuff and we assemble here. It's British as in it's end-to-end British manufacturing, and getting to see all of it and have an input on all of it is a whole different thing.
So if it's that British, as in end-to-end complete manufacturing, to get the best performance out of a Cyrus system, should you leave it a cup of Earl Grey every morning?
Or more likely a glass of whiskey in the evening?
There we go. Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Simon, I've been told that you've put a little something together for us that explains the 3 pillars of why Cyrus is Cyrus.
Yeah, I thought it would be useful just to give everyone listening a little bit more flesh on the bones and the flavour of what we are about as a brand. And I think, a couple of slides I've got which I can talk through, which I think will be really handy.
Awesome.
So, a little bit of history. So the first products under the Cyrus brand, 1983. Cyrus was originally a subsection of the Mission group. I think Mission started in the mid-late 70s. And they developed an electronics brand, which they then called Cyrus, which then became its own business. We are very British. So we're headquartered near Cambridge, and practically everything, as we're saying, we manufacture in the UK, right from the PCBs also to the assembly and the final tuning, the development, all happens here in the UK. Over the years, we've been pretty good at what we do, and we've won lots of awards for our products, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of our team and our R&D team and what they can do. And I guess if people say to me, well, what are you really good at? I usually say, well, it's the amplifiers and the DACs. We've got a pretty unique CD servo system as well, and power supply design is something that many people underestimate in hi-fi, but it has a massive impact on the sound of the products. If we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so the Cyrus really is formed around 3 brand pillars. So enhanced emotional experience. When we're designing products, we're really looking to capture that emotional content. Practical. So if you look at all Cyrus products, you'll notice that they're small and half width and enduring. And that's about our inbuilt upgrade philosophy, which I'll talk about on the next couple of slides. Next slide, please. Yeah, so enhanced emotional content. I mean, it's really interesting because we all listen to music because it creates some kind of emotional response within us. And the research shows that actually they're really complicated emotions. They're far more complicated than you can actually vocalize. So if you try to tell someone what the music is making you feel, it's really difficult because those words don't effectively exist. And our job at Cyrus really is to make sure that what we're trying to do is to preserve that emotional content, because that's what the performer wanted. That's the bit that is intensifying that experience for the customer, and that's what we want to do. So we want to make sure that all of that emotional content really goes through from start to finish. And high performance is really, really important in that, because when you're listening to music, that emotional content is in all that fine detail. So capturing that fine detail is really important to be able to get that emotional experience over. Next. So emotional content, that's kind of what we're about. Second thing that we're all about is practicality. So we've become known for this half-width design. It certainly has some engineering challenges. My R&D team are constantly saying to me, why can't we have a bigger box? Because designing things in a bigger box is actually a lot easier, because you can separate things out, the interference, the noise, etc., etc. But the problem is, most of us live in the real world where we don't have space for huge, great wine box size bits of hi-fi. So what we're trying to do is develop something which is both room friendly and practical, but still has that massive sonic wow factor and has that fantastic performance. So that's the second element of what Cyrus is all about. And next. And a third thing is upgradability. So all Cyrus systems are modular. So you can add things to them, or you can add extra features either via software upgrades or by hardware improvements, by sending them back to a service center, and we can turn them into the latest spec model. And that also helps in terms of it's very environmentally friendly, because it does mean that a Cyrus product is constantly being recycled and repurposed and not taken down the skip and put into landfill as a lot of other things are. So, and I'm quite proud of that fact, because I want to make sure that a Cyrus customer gets real value for money. It's a lifetime value when you invest in a Cyrus product. The flip side of enduring is also power efficiency, and certainly our hybrid Class D platform, which we've invented in-house over the last 5 or 6 years, I'm really proud of. That gives an amazing performance with much lower power consumption than some of the other topologies, which also means the products can operate at lower temperature. Lower temperature means the products last longer because the components don't burn out. So it's a win-win for everyone. So that's been really good. So upgradability and enduringness are the sort of the joint third pillars. And I think there's one more slide coming up, but I've just realized this isn't going to work because there's no animation. So when I give this normally, all of these awards appear one by one. It looks really impressive. At the moment, like this, it just looks a bit of a mess, but it does show you that we're good at what we do. We've won lots and lots and lots of awards over the years. And that's about bringing customers that enhanced emotional experience when they listen to music. I think that's the end of that. I hope, Luke, that's given everyone a bit of a richer flavor of what the brand and the business is all about.
Oh yeah, that was really good. One thing that jumped out to me from that, though, that I'd like to ask you a little bit more about.
Sure.
You said that it's based around a hybrid Class D. Can you tell me what you mean a little bit more about hybrid for the tech enthusiasts here?
Yeah, so this is it's on some of our amps. So in all of the 1 Series amps, all have the hybrid Class D engine, and the Stereo 200 in the classic range has this as well. What we've done is we've kind of, when you've got a small footprint and you're trying to get big power out of that small footprint, controlling heat is very important. And the Class D topology is known as being very efficient, but has a shed load of shortcomings in it from an audio perspective point of view. So we effectively took a Class D topology and said, right, how do we solve this problem? How do we solve its variability to the impedance of the speakers? How do we solve some of the other issues that come with Class D? And we've combined bits of our Class A/B topology in with this. So, for instance, all of those hybrid Class D amps have a huge toroidal transformer in them. So it's not Class D, it's not switch mode power supply, it's proper linear power supplies. And by shoving all those bits together, we're able to get something that sounds amazing and uses very little power.
So you've got this awesome marriage of what is state of the art blended with what is proven.
Correct. Absolutely. Well put. I should coin that phrase.
You are welcome to take it. Thank you.
I think
The other thing that I noticed in that presentation that I really liked, and this is less of a question, more of just a compliment, was I like that you use the word enduring for one of the pillars. That it is something that comes off, especially in today's world, as really, really valuable in a world of products planned to go obsolete and be throwaway. And that word itself it sounds like something selected by someone who's very wise and very passionate about what they do. So hopefully.
Yeah, no, and it's good. I mean, we still have customers who come back with their original Cyrus 1 amplifiers launched in 1983, and we can still service and repair those products. So, exactly. If customers want to buy something, they need to know it's going to last. That's important.
And you meant it when you said enduring. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Simon, you've taken some of the most asked questions here about being a British hi-fi company and what that actually means. But for all those watching, we will have a Q&A afterwards to be able to ask Simon some more questions about all of that.
Yeah.
And I think now that you've also put together a little video for us more about the Cyrus story as well.
Yes.
So Cyrus is a British company, but what does it mean in hi-fi terms to be British? Is there a British sound? Well, my belief is that there are certainly international nuances in the hi-fi market, which are linked to the musical cultural roots of that country or region. If you look at somewhere like Germany, their musical culture is very much steeped in big classical, so Wagner, Strauss. Or in the modern day, there's lots of electronic music in popular German culture. And strangely enough, German hi-fi tends to be very precise, sharp, analytical, full of detail, with that great timing that's needed for that type of music. So where does British musical heritage come from? Certainly one of the big influences has been the BBC. A lot of audio engineers in the UK hi-fi industry started their careers working for the BBC. And over the years they left as the hi-fi industry started to expand. And many of the pioneers of this burgeoning hi-fi industry in the 70s and 80s were ex-BBC engineers starting out on their own. So how might this have affected the British sound? Well, early BBC content was largely news and light entertainment, so mostly speech and vocal. And I would contest that speech is very well represented or accurately reproduced in the British sound. So if you look at things like BBC Monitor speakers, which are in fact showing a bit of a resurgence these days. We've got companies like Spendor, PMC and Harbreath producing newer generations of these classic monitors. Well, their key strength is that they are really sweet and accurate in that vocal mid-range area. And to me, that is really important, because when you think about why we listen to music, we listen because it creates some kind of emotional response in us. It either brings us joy and happiness, or it makes us feel sad, or it just takes us to another place. And so much of that emotional content is around the vocal stroke mid-range area. The area of the spectrum where our ears perform at their best, and they are their most discerning. So that's why I think the British sound, if there is such a thing, travels internationally really well, because fundamentally it's linked to the core reason we listen to music in the first place. Cyrus is based near Cambridge, and that is no accident. As well as the BBC alumni, another breeding ground of audio engineering talent which had a major influence on the high-end audio industry in the UK was Cambridge University. In the 1960s and 1970s, as audio engineering was really developing, the engineering societies of Cambridge University began to take serious notice. A lot of the leaders that are and have been important in the development of British hi-fi were members of those societies. If you look at companies like Arcam, Meridian, Audiolab, Mission, you'll find they're all based in the Cambridge area, and the leaders of those companies were associated with those Cambridge-based audio societies. Cyrus was obviously no exception. We were one of those companies, and like several others, we continue to be based near Cambridge today. It's a massive advantage for us because we are close to a pool of really talented audio engineers. Our links to universities are not only with Cambridge, but actually we have a good association with Loughborough University, which has a really strong engineering faculty. We regularly take university interns from engineering programs there. They come and spend a year learning from some of the best audio engineers in the business, and they get a chance to work on real projects, which is invaluable experience for them. But it's very much a two-way process. They are bringing to us new ideas, new ways of looking at things, and making sure that our engineers have got their eye on cutting-edge technology, which therefore helps the whole innovation process. Our R&D team is led by Kerry Williamson, who won his spurs in the professional audio industry. He used to tour around with lots of bands, setting up their PA systems in venues of all shapes and sizes. And this gives him a really good insight into understanding what the artist is trying to convey and how to help them convey that, which is a real benefit to Cyrus because as a brand, we are all about the realism of the music. We are trying to make sure that the emotional content really shines through. To make the most of this talent pool, you need to have good resources. Not many brands the size of Cyrus have access to end-to-end manufacturing in the UK, but we do. We have a 7,000 square foot Six Sigma facility, a short drive north of our HQ near Cambridge. We have fully robotic SMT lines for precision surface mount, as well as lots of stations for hand fitting some of those more exotic components that are key to making Cyrus products sound the way they do. One fairly unique asset we have there is a rapid prototyping facility. Now, this was set up a couple of years ago at the cost of around £2 million, and this enables us to replicate full-scale manufacturing processes, but in very small batches. So we can do a batch of, say, 5 circuit boards and build them as if they were being built on the main SMT lines. And we can do this in a few days, not a few weeks. This means that instead of producing hand-built prototypes that will bear little relation to the finished products, we can actually prove our designs are going to work in full-scale manufacturing as we are developing them. This rapid prototype facility includes equipment like thermally stable solder paste printing machines, robotic pick and place, and even an X-ray machine so we can see exactly what's going on at an individual pin level in a multi-layered circuit board as we're developing them. It's an amazing facility to have for a brand like ours. So what are the advantages of manufacturing here in Britain? As a brand, what we're trying to achieve is a combination of mass production precision, where we can get reliability and durability, with handcrafted elements such as unique hand-fitted components to get the quality of sound that we're after from our products. So where does this start? Well, this starts with the board design. Actually, that's not quite true. It really starts with defining the product that we want, which isn't as simple as you might think. First, we look at what we're trying to create, the performance parameters, the feature sets, and so on. Then the R&D team will present us with a number of options using different technology solutions that they think they can employ in this particular product. They then produce a number of different prototypes, exploring some of these various options. And that's where the rapid prototyping facility is a massive benefit, because we can make small batches of each of these prototype designs and listen to them. Actually, before we listen to them, we have to write some software to get them to work properly. And then we listen to them and audition them. So we're evaluating which direction is providing us the best results. After that, we will home in on one particular design philosophy for that product. And then the R&D team will go away and make more prototypes, further refining the design options. And then we will do that again and again and again, sometimes up to 8 times. And each time we do this, we will have a golden reference sample from the previous session that we can refer back to. So we've got this continual transition of audio references. So we know how the sound is changing each time we go through a prototype development cycle. Once we're decided on the final design, we then put it through a review for manufacture process. This is where we will tweak some of the way the circuits have been laid out, or where some of the components have been placed on the board, to make sure it can actually be manufactured efficiently and effectively. And this is all about increasing the reliability and durability of the product. What we want to do is to make sure we've got something that not only sounds great, but is also reliable in the field. Then, of course, we listen to it again to check that any of those designed for manufacture changes haven't detracted from the sound. Sometimes it may even sound better. Once we've done that, the next stage is compliance. So we will submit the products for various international safety standards and EMC, that's electromagnetic radiation testing. All our products have to pass an ever-increasing number of standards, which themselves are also becoming increasingly tight as years go by, particularly in the areas of energy efficiency. This keeps the R&D team on their toes. We have to keep ahead of the latest compliance rules and keep innovating to make sure we can continue to meet those standards, as well as improving the sonic performance of our products. Our hybrid Class D technology is a classic example of such innovation. We've been faced with ever-tightening constraints on both thermal emissions and energy efficiency of products over the last decade. And this drove us to develop our own in-house amplifier topology. We took elements of Class D technologies, which are very energy efficient, and combined them with everything that we know about Class AB, another amplifier technology, to get something that sounds amazing, but is also extremely energy efficient. So that's part of the constant innovation and constant development process. The last stage of the development process is our final tuning process. Now, this is part of the secret sauce of the Cyrus brand, and something I'll talk a bit more about a bit later. Cyrus is very proud to be a British brand. There aren't many truly British brands left. A lot of brands that started their lives in the UK have now moved overseas for either cost or manufacturing resource reasons. Cyrus, however, remains committed to the UK. We design everything here, and we build 95% of our products here in the UK. The only exceptions being products where Google or Apple require approved factories to be used. But even then, we oversee every element of the design and build process. We still service all of our products here in the UK and regularly support and maintain products that are over 30 years old. Our team here also train international service teams. So you can be sure that wherever you're buying your Cyrus products, it's an investment you can count on.
That is a lot of great information. When you were talking about the manufacturing process, I started thinking to myself, are we talking about audio components, or does Simon really work for Rolls-Royce jet engines?
Yeah, no, we're very lucky. We've kind of got a manufacturing partner, so they do work for other companies as well, but they're integrally involved in our business. So we've kind of got the benefits of both being niche and scale at the same time, which is amazing.
That is awesome. From both the first part of the video and a little bit later in, when you talked about the background of what helped to make Cyrus what it is and what it is that you go for in your audio quality, the first being the BBC, which I thought was very cool, being vocal focus, I'm assuming a bit of a mid-forward presence. And then later when you mentioned the gentleman who did a lot with bands back in like the golden days,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that what Cyrus is looking for is going to be that mid-forward, vocally focused, just very pleasing to the human ear sound, like you said British audio is. But in your words, Simon, and you too, David, what is the Cyrus sound to you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because there is no doubt that brands do have slightly different sonic signatures.
Right.
But then there's an awful lot of faff talked about that. So
yes.
What is it? And essentially what we're trying to do, to me, it's realism. So you want the music to sound as real as possible. How do we do that? Obviously, your front living room is not a concert hall. So there are compromises. How do you get around that? The Cyrus system, we're always looking for a really wide soundstage, because if you've got a really big canvas, that enables you to paint a really detailed picture, and it's the detail that provides you with the realism and the emotional content. And that's how I would sum up what Cyrus is trying to do. David, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
I always like analogies, and I think I think of Cyrus like a really, really high quality photographic lens. It's not our job to add anything or take anything away, just to provide a really, really clear perspective on what the recording is.
So transparency, like looking through sapphire glass.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Telling the truth. Now you're speaking my language. All right. That's awesome, guys. Well, David, I'm also told a little something that you put together for us that explains some more interesting designs about Cyrus.
So Simon's talked a lot about the technology and components that go into Cyrus products, but one thing we can't overlook is the craftsmanship that goes into the design and build. In the design, the tolerances are tight enough and the product either works or it doesn't, generally speaking. But for audio products, it's a bit different. For example, track layout on an audio circuit board is critical. You need to keep the sensitive components away from sources of noise. Electrical, magnetic, vibrations, all of those can have an impact. Another example is transformer design. In itself a dark art, but something to note is that whilst almost every manufacturer uses what's called a dual primary transformer, that means that by changing the connection you can switch between 115 volt and 240 volt. We don't. Even in our entry products such as the 1 series, we use single wound transformers because they sound better. Each product we sell in the US has its own specially designed 115 volt version of its own transformer. Then of components on the surface circuit board that can performance. These are tiny, nuanced effects, but when you truly understand and care about performance, you consider the circuit to this kind of level. It has a cumulative effect. So if you've got 20 components that are aligned properly, just the magnetic induction, by even a fraction of a percent, it will have a meaningful overall effect on the performance. But when we talk about handcrafted, we're also talking about the skill of construction, the finessing of the manufacture to deliver a better product. So let's talk about the chassis, for example. You see this metal box, a half-width shoebox type affair, and may not realise exactly what has gone into the design and build of that. And then there's the care and attention lavished on it in production. Now, manufacturers of audio products tend to... There are those that really don't care too much about the actual chassis. It's just a piece of folded metal. It may be painted or anodized, but it's basically formed from a sheet pressed into a shape. Then there are those for whom the chassis is an integral part of the design. That would include us. Our casework for the Classic and the new XR series is cast aluminium. It's formed in a huge mould using molten metal. It's a heavy industrial process, and the moulds themselves can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it means we can produce a better product. It means that the electrical shielding, the heat dissipation, the acoustic inertness of using a solid case is fully available to our engineers. But there's more. It's the clever stuff, like mounting the circuits and key components on the chassis upside down, which further reduce the microphonic effects, any floor vibration. And those are kind of examples of the minutiae of detail that make a Cyrus product really special. The chassis starts life as a molten alloy fired in a furnace and then poured into these complex moulds. The moulds themselves are channeled with cooling pipes to bring the liquid metal to a solid extremely evenly, and that prevents any distortion of the case and ensures a brilliant fit for the product. The cooling fins on the side of the Cyrus chassis are incredibly hard to produce in a mould and an absolute testament to the precision of the process. Once the case is cooled, they're then filled and finished by hand multiple times over a period of about 10 days. Repeated sanding and polishing creates the best possible surface for a painting process and eliminates any casting variation. Then, and only then, do they go off to the paint factory. And even when you look at painting, for almost 20 years we've used Frederick Coopers. They're based in Birmingham in the UK and are famed for their quality of their painting. They paint for the likes of Aston Martin and McLaren and are hugely respected as the best in their business. Cyrus chassis are treated to no less than 6 coats of paint, undercoat and primer before multiple top coats. Each one is hand cut and finished to produce the finish you see on our products. Once they arrive back at our factory in Nottingham, the products are then bench assembled and inspected before going through a full test procedure to ensure that everything is working properly and within specification. Then we conduct a full soak test. That means the individual products are housed on a rack and run continuously for 48 hours under load to ensure that if anything is going to go wrong, it happens here and not after it's been shipped halfway around the world. Start to finish, it takes about 8 weeks and involves no less than 10 craftsmen and all of the high-tech equipment and resources available to us to build each individual Cyrus product. We're not a big company manufacturing thousands of products in an anonymous factory. We build small runs of a few dozen units at a time, but we're passionate about what we do, and we build precision products for customers that share our passion for music.
Well, David, that is quite the marriage of passion, but also real life science and engineering.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into manufacturing these products. Even once the R&D kind of stuff is put to one side, and you know, the audio industry is it's a relatively small industry. So to have those access to the kind of resources that we have is just phenomenal for me as a marketer and for and I'm sure for Simon as a company owner as well.
Yeah. It's we're trying to create this emotional experience for the customer, both in terms of both the sound they get at and also when they physically pick it up. We want it to be something for them nice to have and to hold.
It's pride of ownership.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I tell my clients all the time that the reason to get into this hobby, really, music is therapy.
No, definitely. Yes, it is. It is. And it's, yeah, I kind of, our strap line, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have this, it's building a better music experience. Because ultimately that's what we're trying to deliver to customers. Building because we do physically build it, better because we don't want to be the same as everyone else. And when customers come into your store, they may think they're buying a piece of kit or a piece of hardware, but actually they're buying a music experience. That's why they're buying the kit, to make, to give them that wow factor when they sit down at home, and that gives them that emotional lift. So yeah, we're as an industry, we are trying to make people's lives better.
That's awesome. And really, that's the best thing that any of us can be doing. I've heard it said that miracles like that, which can occur with audio, because you just see how it impacts people in such a positive way, happen when the narrative world, like all of our passions, all of our hopes, the things that we desire, finally connect with what's tangible, what's real, what's objective. And I can see like where you guys had that spirit of achieving this goal of incredible music reproduction, but you're putting in the real world engineering, research, and labor, whether it be in the chassis and the more macro elements of what you're doing, all the way down to the very fine pieces, be it in the power transformers, the transistors, the PCBs, etc.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing process. And I think, I did talk very briefly in that video about what I call the secret sauce behind the products. And, you talk about attention to detail. And we have this really extended tuning process right at the end of this whole product development. And we have a listening panel. So we've got myself, Kerry's the head of engineering. We've got Stuart McGregor, who's been there for years. Sometimes David comes in, although he claims he can't hear the higher registers, but and a couple of the other R&D guys. And we have an argument about it. We sit there and we say, right, okay, what we do is we take the design and we'll literally change one component. So we'll take a resistor of a particular value, we'll swap it out for a resistor of the same value, but from a different manufacturer. Then we'll listen to that product and we'll say, does it sound different? Does it sound different? Does it sound better? Because there are a lot of things that you can't measure in the lab. So you can put your oscilloscope across it and it'll look identical, but it sounds different. And it's all that cumulative experience of knowing where on the circuit to make those changes, which components to swap out, which are critical, where to do that listening. And that process takes 3 or 4 weeks by the time we get to the end of it. We do a few days, then we go and put our heads in a cold sink and try and refresh, and then come back and do it again. But
everyone's eating a lot of pizza.
Yeah, it does lots of pizza, but it's this. It's kind of this theory of multiple improvement. It's the multiple 1%. So you could change this one component and it might sound 1% better. If you do that 20 times on a product, out the end of that process comes something that sounds 10, 20% better than the product that went in the first place. And that's a kind of extra added value that we put in, because I suspect a lot of brands will probably take that initial product and say, great, it's gone through prototypes, we've listened to it, it's passed approvals, let's hit manufacturing and let's go. But no, we always put this extra step in to try and squeeze even more value out of the process. It's a philosophy that's been copied a lot in modern day sport, but we thought of it first.
It's that kind of pursuit of excellence that pleases
exactly.
the competition. And
the multiple 1%. Does it? If I can shave a gram off the wheel weight of my cycle, I can go quicker up the hill. That's that kind of thing. Yeah.
That is awesome. That story about changing out like a single resistor, for example, right there. That's it. That's that spiritual element of audio. That's a little bit beyond just the physical. Yeah. That's so cool.
It's not about measurement, because those two components might measure exactly the same, but the most sensitive analytical device you'll ever find is already on the side of your head. So listen to it and trust it.
Yeah, we do have a couple of engineers sometimes come and they look at us and say, well, that measures the same, but it sounds different. And either they get it and they fall in love with the whole process, or they resign and go work somewhere else.
Well, the ones that stay are the ones you need, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome, awesome stuff. All right, guys. Well, we've got a couple questions now that have been submitted for you. So let's see what we've got and go to the audience. All right. So first up, we've got Andrew asking, can you tell us about the price range of your equipment?
The price
Dollars
range.
or pounds? British
Yeah,
pounds.
exactly. Yeah, I can't actually. I don't know what they sell for us.
How many shekels of silver?
Yeah, exactly. In the UK, they go from a Cyrus 1 in the UK is it's about 750. It's about £800. So I guess that's $1,200-1,500, something like that. The latest XR preamps we've got are £4,000 at retail. So that's the kind of range. So there's a multiple of sort of 4 times between top and bottom. A world of difference in performance, but you know they're designed for different audiences and different target markets.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope, and I hope your boss is not sitting there going, "No, those numbers are wrong."
All right. Okay, what's the next one we've got?
Okay.
Richard asks, I've got a Cyrus 8A, which I love, but I'm ready to upgrade now. What are my options?
Okay, great question. Because part of the whole Cyrus philosophy is about upgradability. So if he's got a Cyrus 8A, which is an integrated amplifier, an analog integrated amplifier. So the first thing you can do is add a DAC. So we had a QXR DAC, which is a new generation of DAC card that we launched about 2 and a bit years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Those can be retrospectively fitted into products up to about 10 years old to bring them up to spec, and that product will qualify for that. If it goes to a service center, it just needs a couple of little component changes, and then we can slot the DAC board on top of that. The other things you can do.
Can I just interrupt there, Simon, and say that DAC upgrade is no small thing either. That brings that product right up to the modern day. You've got DSD 512 up to 768 32-bit sample rate. It's quite the kit.
That sounds pretty state of the art to me. Yeah.
And being able to upgrade a 10, 15-year-old product to that kind of specification, I'm not sure anyone else can do that.
Yeah, no, it's really good. The other thing you can do is add an external power supply. So practically all of our products are upgradable by an external power supply. For that product, it would be the PSXR2, which is the latest version. We'll upgrade that. And then the third thing you can do, because it's an integrated amp, is to add power amplifiers. So there are a range of power amplifiers we have. They're all gain matched so that you can slot any of them in, be them Stereo 200s or Mono X300s, and build up systems. I mean, we do have people that have 20 boxes in a system because they can, they started with 2 and they finish up with 20, just incrementally improving it over time. Great question.
Already, real world example of that design pillar of enduring.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's quite a journey. Our customers tend, as Simon says, to start off with really simple systems, and then you can just keep adding to it, and you get more power, more control, better insights, higher resolution, and then adding things like phono stages. It's a really exciting range to work with in that regard.
Oh yes, scalability is a value all in itself.
And I'm constantly amazed at what difference adding the power supplies makes to these products. I mean, power is a really key element of hi-fi design. So if you think of food, so you go to a Michelin star restaurant, a really high restaurant, but if you if you make that chef go and not have his best ingredients, that chef won't be able to make you a great meal. And it's the same with hi-fi. You need great raw ingredients to make good hi-fi, to make the signal great signals.
Excellent. Stuff. All right, what's our next question? From Todd. At Simon, of each of your components, which is the one component you would tell us is the one that you feel we should rush to check out first? What is your masterpiece, so to speak?
They're all beautiful. They're all my babies. I love them all. I don't know, David. What do you think? Stereo 200, Fantasy.
I think it's a Stereo 200 because not only is it's probably it's the highest end iteration of our hybrid Class D, and it kind of the whole One series is born of the Stereo 200, just as an amazing amplifier in so many ways, but just to be able to get that much power and control from a box that small is mind-boggling. You won't believe it when you hear what that amplifier can do.
It's that one there. That's a Stereo.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I've got it.
Compact, but...
Yeah, I've got it in my system here, in my study, yeah, because it gives you a lot of welly at very little space.
Okay, that is awesome stuff. An excellent question. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap up our Q&A part, but there's something really fun that I want to tell everybody listening about.
Great questions, everybody. Thanks very much for those. Excellent. Thank you for your input.
Oh, yes, they were great questions. Now, the thing that I wanted to tell you guys listening about that's going to be really fun is we're actually doing a giveaway from Cyrus here, and you guys can enter in to win the very innovative One and over at skybygramophone.com. Now, right quick, I need to point out that YouTube is not a sponsor of this contest, and they don't endorse it. They have no involvement with it. This is just between we here at Gramophone and the gentleman here from Cyrus. And while we're on that topic, though, guys, Simon and David, can you give us a little more insight of the OneCast? Like, what makes this an awesome $2,000 amp that our viewers are going to want to scramble to sign up for?
Well, I think the first thing is that amplifier engine. So it has that Class D, that hybrid Class D amplifier module, which, again, this is a small amplifier that delivers just a massive punch of power. What's the instantaneous current capability, Simon? It's like 73 amps or something, isn't it? It's insane.
Yeah,
how much power.
Peak current output is immense. So it does mean it's got phenomenal grip over lower frequencies, can control
73 amps, not watts.
Yeah. 70. I think it might be 72. I think you might have over-egged it by an amp. I think it's 72 watts peak current output.
I'll take 72.
Yeah. So it really does grip things. You can hear it in a lot of those, bass lines. You can really hear the leading edge of the notes as people are picking up the strings.
But beyond pure power, the thing that's really exciting about the Cast is that it connects to literally everything. So it's called the Cast because it's got a Google Cast built in. So you can send music directly from your phone, whatever streaming service you're using. It's appless, so you don't have to rely on a Cyrus app. You can use it from Spotify or Tidal or Deezer or whatever you want to use. It's got a phono stage built in, which is excellent. It's got a headphone amplifier built in. It's got HDMI ARC input, so you can connect it directly to your television. So it gives you a much better sound quality than you'll get from a sound bar. And also you've got all this extra functionality. So it is the amplifier that literally does everything. And that's actually a quote from Rolling Stone magazine who reviewed it recently. So we've got big ranges of products, don't get me wrong, but if the OneCast really is a pocket rocket. It is a small compact amplifier that literally will blow your socks off.
So for the value conscious audiophile who's like, okay, I need bang for my buck, this is it.
Bang for buck, there's nothing better.
Yeah, we designed it deliberately to get people who, it's kind of, Sonos for grown-ups, that kind of thing. People who want a system.
You didn't say that.
Didn't I? Oh.
That's pretty funny, though. That sounds like a great piece. So for someone who is new to this hobby but wants to get into something better, as long as they got a pair of speakers, they can get this unit, drop it on their shelf, plug it in, pull out their phone, and boom, catapult themselves into high orbit hi-fi.
It's insane how good it is. And if you've got like a Google Home or an Amazon Alexa devices around the home, you play music on them, you can voice control the thing as well. So you can actually switch it on with voice commands.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You can say it's amazing.
So you tell me I could actually teach my parents how to use this thing?
Yes.
That is awesome, guys. All right, gentlemen. Well, I want to thank both of you so much for staying up late over there and just being so passionate and willing to come on and share all of your knowledge and your wisdom on this subject, and just for making this a lot of fun. Like, this was a great time, and I think our viewers would agree. So thank you, gentlemen, so very much. But before you go, any final thoughts that you'd like to add to close us out?
It's been a real pleasure, Luke. Really enjoyed chatting to you and the rest of your team behind the scenes. There is a big team behind the scenes, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
There is.
There's a lot of guys on this, and they're all doing a sterling job. To me, the reason I got involved in hi-fi in the first place, it's all about bringing that customer experience and making that customer go, wow. It's about enhancing that emotional content of the music. So, I think if any of your listeners kind of wonder what they're doing or why they're going into stores and buying stuff, just kind of, it's sit down and look into your own soul, and that's why you're doing it. And hopefully a piece of Cyrus kit will enable you to look more deeper into your soul as you're listening to the music.
Ooh, I like that. Deeper into your soul as you're listening to your music. There's the miracle of music right there.
Indeed, yeah. It is amazing stuff. Music's just it's a fantastic industry to be in.
David, how about you?
I can't add anything to that, Luke. That's why we're all here. It's what we're all passionate about. So just keep listening, keep enjoying the music.
Yeah, Simon just tried a little too hard right there and stole the last bit of thunder.
I'm not topping that.
Oh, I do have one more question for you, gentlemen, though. When are you sending me my Stereo 200?
Oh, I think your team said you could just take one, right?
If only. All right, guys. But no, I'm very excited now to see the line and be able to hear it. Be able to hear everything that you guys have to offer. And for those of you watching, we're going to get ready to sign off here, but don't forget, head over to skybygramophone.com. We should have a link down in the description of this. You can enter in the contest so that you can win the Cyrus OneCast, and you can also see almost the entire Cyrus line for sale over on Sky. And with that, gentlemen, thank you again so much. It has been nothing short of a pleasure and just a lot of fun.
Luke, the pleasure's been all ours.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, guys. That wraps up the live stream with Simon and David. Thank you for joining us. This was a really cool event, and I sure liked hosting it. So I'm looking forward to doing more stuff like this, too. But remember to subscribe to the Gramophone channel, my friends. Please give this a like if you had a good time. Drop a comment down below. And we'll be here for all of your audio and home theater needs. And while you're in that comment section, let us know if you'd like to see more content like this. Did you guys enjoy this live stream? If so, we want to know about it because we know that we did, but we want to serve you. So thank you for being a part of everything, everyone. We really appreciate it. Being your host is always a pleasure. Be seeing you.